It's a beauty. Henry Ford brought out this Model T in September of 1908. That was the year after I was born. It was to be a cheap, durable car that any working man could afford. The Model T was to continue in production for 19 years, 19 whole years. With minor changes, of course. 15 million of them were built, a single model run record only surpassed by the Volkswagen Beetle. By 1920, half the cars on the road in the world were Model T Fords. They were powered by a 4-cylinder engine of 22 horsepower, up to a foot-operated planetary 2-speed transmission. Oh, and they made some good noises. Early Model T Fords came with several body colors, but in 1913, the assembly line was sped up, and black was the only color that dried fast enough to keep up with the production. That's a good fact to know. So all Model Ts were black from 1913 through 1926. Great car. And this happens to be John Trout, who's in charge of it over there, the commander. Carry on, sir. Wait a minute. Oh, is it? Now, here we have a 1926 Ford Model T four-door sedan owned. I don't know what's going on here. Luckily, he's in charge, so. Oh, it should be Devin. I got Devin. Sorry, Devin. We're having all kinds of logistical problems here, but listen to this. This is true. This 1926 Ford Model T Runabout was driven by Devin Hall. There she is. This car, like all Model T Fords, has a 20 horsepower, 4-cylinder engine and a 2-speed planetary transmission, whatever that is. The driver is Devin Hall, one of the young volunteers at Auburn Heights, who is qualified to operate a standard steamer car and a Model T Ford, and is one of the instructors and drivers at Auburn Heights. She became fond of the 1914 Ford at Auburn Heights, so 2 years ago, Devin purchased this Runabout, which she found in Washington State. It's an attractive little car which has an auxiliary 2-speed transmission and a high-speed rear. That's all it says. I'm going to add axle. You will note how different it is in appearance from the 1913 Ford, although the basic mechanics are the same. She drives the car when she can and does most of the maintenance and service on the car herself. Wow. Yeah, she belongs to several Model T clubs. Devin drove this car here this morning from Auburn Heights. It must be so tired. And that, of course, is in Brooklyn, Delaware. Thank you so much for stopping by, Devin. Carry on. A 1921 Speedster owned by Charlie Frick. Is that Charlie sitting behind the wheel? I think so. Board and dirt track racing swept the U.S. like wildfire between 1920 and 1930. I'm sure you can all remember that. With over 1,000 racetracks spread across the nation. This highly modified 1921 Model T features many period must-have speed parts for racers of the day. A 16-valve Robert M. Roof cylinder head modeled after the Peugeot Grand Prix engines, and a Wingfield racing carburetor providing 60% more power than a stock Model T. A more overdrive auxiliary transmission allows a top speed in the 70 miles per hour range. So he said, the suspension has been lowered 6 inches, so it's going to scrape the ground at some point. And a more precise steering system fitted to better cope with speeds that Henry Ford never envisioned. He couldn't have imagined this car. The all-steel boat tail body is just one of dozens of aerodynamic styles available. While a few $100s could prep a Model T for racing or posing it, it must be remembered that a brand new Ford Model T costs only $260 at the time. wouldn't even have to take out a loan. Accordingly, many owners just stripped off the fenders, chopped the body to build their Speedster. A fully prepped Speedster of this type is very rare. Check that out. Now go really fast. Not backwards. Oh, good. We have a little change, of course. We've had Model Ts up till now. We're moving over to another model. I bet you can guess what that is. One of the best kept secrets in automotive history was the secrecy surrounding the introduction of the Model A Ford in December of 1927. The Model T had been a great success. For 19 years, the T had been little changed from 1908. By 1920, half the cars on the road in the world, as I said before, were Model T Fords. Billy Murray's hit song, The Little Ford Rambled Right Along, celebrated the rugged, simple durability of the Model T. But the auto buying public wanted more, and Henry Ford finally agreed to give it to them. There was a headline, Ford Auto War hits stock market. General Motors issues slump as new car appears, were the Springfield, Massachusetts Daily News headlines for December 1st, 1927. Pictures of the new Ford car here tomorrow were banner headlines above photographs on the inside pages of the same paper. On December 2nd, Ford showrooms across America were swamped with eager buyers. It was mentioned that only 550 cars of the new ones, the Model A's, were available for public viewing across the country that next day. Smaller dealers, get that guy out of here. Smaller dealers had to get by with cardboard models and pictures. Production soon ramped up to over 1,000 cars a day to meet the incredible demand. With its 40 horsepower engine, sliding gear, 3-speed transmission, 4-wheel mechanical brakes, hydraulic shock absorbers, steel spoke wheels, and baby Lincoln design, this new Ford caught on like wildfire. Henry made a lady out of Lizzie was the new popular song of the day. Even now, there is no more popular antique car than the Model A Ford. Parts are readily available, and most collectors drive their Model A's regularly. And few are tailored for shows. So they're self-sufficient. Thank you so much for joining us. And, the 1931 Model A Ford pickup truck and Calliope. You heard that word before, didn't you? You're still wondering about it. Well, in the back, you'll see it. Following the loss of his 1926 Model T pickup truck, the band organ in the February 1st fire, Charlie Brosius decided to start again. I remember that it was just this year that this happened. Quite a loss. By March 15th, Charlie had located this Calliope, you see that here, and by April 20th, he had purchased this 1931 Ford and installed the Calliope in it. Yes, that was a Calliope. It was manufactured about 20 years ago by the Ragtime Organ Company. It uses paper rolls like those used by an old player piano. Charlie has enough rolls to play 50 songs if you want to stick around for all 50 of them. And a contact in Georgia should you want to purchase more. It has 42 organ pipes, 12 glockenspiel bells, a bass drum, a snare drum, a cymbal, and a triangle, all powered by two 12-volt batteries. Outstanding. Thank you, Charlie. Are you going to hop aboard?
Turn it on.
Oh yes, it's going to play for you.
Where's the switch?
You sort of come down after the parade and you'll hear the music down in front of the mansion. He doesn't tell me, but Charlie is actually playing all of these things with his feet. It's a beautiful job. Somebody else is up there. We'll find out soon. This 1929 Model A Ford Rumble Seat Coupe was owned by Ron and Judy Burris of Bear, Delaware. It has been in a barn upstate New York for 30 years, was inherited from a grandson and relocated to Elkton, Maryland. It was in pieces when purchased by Ron in 2003, and the restoration project began, which was to take 3 years. Family, friends, and some restoration companies helped and brought the car to this condition. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. The car has won numerous awards and is frequently driven. Please visit with Ron in the parade car display located in front of the mansion. There you can view the restoration photo album. Driving the car today is a son-in-law, Michael. Sorry, Mike. I get most of it wrong. Right, I mean. Please do. Call my lawyer. It's Michael in there with family members riding along. The more agile are riding in the optional rumble seat. You two are agile? Okay. That's what it says. I don't write them. Thanks a lot. Uh-oh. We're lagging a little bit. I'll tell you ahead of time though, this is 31 Model A Deluxe Roadster. This is not just a Roadster, it's a Deluxe Roadster. Take a picture or something. At the beginning of the Great Depression in the 1930s, Ford introduced the Deluxe Roadster for those customers who wanted something a bit sportier than the standard Roadster and who had the money for it. The Deluxe Roadster came with a low-profile chrome-plated windshield. Frame, that is. The windshield would be chrome-plated. And cowl lights, side-mounted spare wheels, and a rare rear luggage rack for a base price of, guess what, $475. You got it in your pocket, right? This car with its Washington blue body, black fenders, and Tacoma cream wheels was restored from the frame up by Earl Jules and his father over 30 years ago. And today, Earl continues to enjoy this special Model A Ford. Thanks so much for sharing with us. It's easy for you to say. What is this? It's a 1931 Ford. In April 1931, Ford modernized its four-door sedan with a slant windshield and interior sun visors and called the 1931 Ford model a 160C four-door sedan. Wow, look at that thing. This new model was a strange corporate decision as the Model A was nearing the end of production. No more than 3,500 were produced, and they are seldom seen today. The interior of the seating is deep cushioned brown mohair with faux wood-grained dashboard and garnished moldings. George William has owned this car for over 60 years. It was the only slant windshield sedan at a Model A show. Over 800 cars entered. So there it is. Slant windshield looking good. Thank you so much. Yeah. Smooth. What is this? Well, I'll tell you, it's Steve Roberts, the 1935 Ford Sedan. Good. Something's going right, finally. For 1935, the new Ford was styled and now only available with a 220 cubic inch V8. The car was quite fast and thus was a favorite of police departments and outlaws alike. And I wanted, my family told me I had to share this with you. Clyde Barrow of Bonnie and Clyde infamy, fame, I don't know, infamy, wrote Henry Ford saying, and this is in his words, "While I still have breath in my lungs, I will tell you what a dandy car you make. I have drove Fords exclusively when I could get away with one." Yeah. For sustained speed and freedom from trouble, the Ford has got ever other car skinned. And even if my business has been strictly legal, it don't hurt anything to tell you what a fine car you got in the V8. Yours truly, Clyde Barrow, from Texas, by the way. Bonnie and Clyde, however, were killed by federal agents in 1934 Ford, which looked just about exactly like this, but the color wasn't the same. And it had lots of holes in it after they finished. The trunk was now integrated into the body, and the interior room was increased. The soft top insert was still a part of all sedans, but improvements in body stampings allowed an all-steel top for 1936. Steve Roberts' car was completely restored over a period of years by V8 expert Mel Chase, and was featured in a 2009 ad for the Hagley car show. You may remember that, those of you who have copies of the ad in your possession. The Tacoma cream paint is an original color, and the car performs as well as it did in 1935, allowing Steve and his wife to enjoy the car frequently in good weather. Thank you so much, Steve.
Yeah, the horn.
I want that.